The Final Fantasy Wiki Podcast is brought to you by... What? Excuse me? What? Okay, and then, bonus-ode. That's what this is. It's the bonus-ode of the Final Fantasy Wiki Podcast. 2 weeks later. It's normally a monthly podcast, but now it's a bi-monthly podcast. Because Final Fantasy VII Rebirth continues to have afterbirth of discourse.
Oh, God.
Jesus Christ. That's what we're going to call the bonus-odes from now on. They're discourse afterbirths. So, last time on the Final Fantasy Wiki Podcast, which is the official podcast of the Final Fantasy Wiki, where we talk about Final Fantasy stuff, I'm your host, BlueHighwind. These other guys can say hello, too.
Right, I'm SomeColorMage.
I'm Techno. You know who I am, I assume. I was on the last one.
That doesn't mean they know who you are. Sorry, that's Catuse. Techno, explain to the audience who you are. They may not know the lore.
What is there to say, really? I mean, I wrote most of this new stuff for the Final Fantasy VII Remake trilogy. Most of the new lore content was me, with the help of some very good people. Keltane, I don't know how to pronounce her name. I'm very sorry, Kelt. And Nocturne. I also write a lot of the gameplay with a lot of help. I mean, what else is there to say? Really, that's me.
Sorry,
There's the lore.
To be
Sorry,
clear,
Techno,
he means content on the wiki. He is not the fusion of Nojima and Hamaguchi.
Wait. Sorry. Sorry, Techno. You sound very fuzzy.
Do I?
Yes.
I don't think that can be fixed. I'm in the car at the minute.
Oh, you're in a car. Okay, all right. So that's unfixable. I will edit around that as much as I can then.
Yeah, I'll be out of the car soon, so don't worry about it.
All right. So Technobliterator reporting from a car. That's the lore.
Yep.
And
that is me.
Catuse, it's been a while since you've been on. What's your lore?
I've been trying to retire from FFWiki stuff for longer than I've been active on FFWiki.
You know, one way or another, it always pulls you back in. You can never escape. One day we'll have Shane on this podcast, the founder of the Final Fantasy Wiki, Mysterious. I'll hunt him down the street and gag him and force him to go and talk about the experience of starting a wiki that survives and makes fun of you years later.
Do you know what? Like, we saw him the other day on Twitter. Like, you know, he was shouting us out. I'm like,
wasn't
big up,
the
man.
other day like years ago at this point?
Probably. I don't remember. I just remember, like, he was shouting us out while replying to, like, Wikipedia. I was like, oh, big up, man. Apparently, yeah, Wikipedia was where he got the idea of the FF Wiki, which makes sense.
Okay. So he still exists. And, well, we have to talk about our discourse Afterbirth. So when we wrapped up last time, 2 weeks ago, we were talking about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, a game that we all very much liked, except for Catuse, who has not played it. He's here mostly as kind of a joke to see if maybe he can follow the conversation, because I don't think even I can. The other update in the last 2 weeks is that I wrote a review of this game. Go read it. It's in the podcast description. Thank you, Techno.
Yeah, it was a genuinely one of your best ones. I'm not even fucking with you.
Okay, I didn't think so, but I don't know what's a good review and what's a bad review.
No, it's like the analogy you used at the start, man. I'm like, oh shit, that's brilliant.
Okay, thank you for that. I don't take compliments well. That's my weakness. Then at the end of our podcast, we talked about all the things we liked about the game, but we decided to leave the spoilers of the ending for another time. Also, one of us had a hard out, so we had to wrap up then anyway. So that other time has come, and I don't think anyone's got a heart out, so now we have to go and talk about the ending. Yeah.
Yep.
The fact that you side kind of tells you everything you need to know about this ending.
All right,
I mean, yeah, maybe I'm kind of crazy because the more I talk about this kind of thing, the more I appreciate it, even if, I think it could be executed a lot better than what they actually did.
Oh yeah, no, I'm the same exact way, the same way. And frankly, I was the same way with 7 Remake's ending, so I don't feel any differently about this
it's
one.
kind of the same ending as 7 Remake, including the same final boss.
Pretty much. Pretty much.
All right, so how do we want to attack this thing? How about this? I got an idea.
Where did we even get up to? Because I think the furthest we got is not even the end of chapter 13. We went as far as I think the last thing in the story progression we ever got to was Kate Sif talking about leg day. So
well, all right. So the final boss is the Temple of the Ancients, and the story continues from there. We knew that was going to happen. The game would end.
Yeah, that's the final dungeon.
The game would end at the Forgotten Capital. How about this, Catuse? What do you think happens at the end of this game?
What do I think happens at the end of 7 Rebirth?
Yes.
Well, I have to refer back to the ending of 7 Remake. And also refer to the ending of Intergrade, okay?
Yes.
So
this will all be helpful.
In both of these games, the story was really good until the end when it became kind of dumb. Actually, at the end of Intergrade, it became really dumb. And so I have to assume the same thing is going to happen for Rebirth.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
You said it ends with the Temple of the Ancients, and presumably Aerith dies, right? Except that all of the foreshadowing in Remake Part 1 was about how maybe Aerith isn't going to die, and there's a time something.
Yes.
So I think what's going to happen is that there's going to be... is that it's going to turn into the Kingdom Hearts prequels, okay? Where...
Kingdom Hearts is a good guess. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not talking about the
cook.
main series of Kingdom Hearts. I'm talking about Union Cross and stuff.
Yep. You're getting warmer, weirdly enough.
I mean, I feel like what has to happen is there has to be some kind of is that Aerith dies, but she doesn't die because. I don't know. I don't understand the ending of 7 Remake, first of all. Is Zack dead? Is Zack not dead? And I think that the same thing has to happen with Aerith. Aerith is dead, but she's also not dead. But also, for some reason, we have to fight Sephiroth.
It's stunning
Holy
how
shit,
accurate
you actually fucking got it.
It's pretty much that's
It's
it.
stunning how close that was to actually what happened. Fucking hell.
All right,
Yeah.
So all right, why don't we do
make the story as dumb as possible, and I just said stuff.
All right, why don't we do a super overview of what actually happens? I'll try to do a super or SomeColorMage. You want to do a super short summary, like one paragraph?
So, I mean, I might need a bit more than one paragraph, but we left off when the Temple of the Ancients gets destroyed with Kate Sif in it.
Yeah.
And the actual and of course they heavily changed the scene where in the original Cloud just starts beating the shit out of Aerith, and then Kate Sif shows up again. I mean, Kate Sif does still show up again, but this time Cloud is just being a lot more emotionally abusive instead, just slowly chasing after Aerith. You can trust me, give me the black materia, it's all fine. And that's really fucking creepy, and that's a really cool scene. And then once Cloud gets it, Sephiroth just attacks the both of them.
Oh, well, you left out one important thing, is that Sephiroth already had the black materia, drops it on purpose, and then makes Cloud do all this, because Sephiroth is in full troll mode during this entire ending.
Yeah.
Literally, he seems like he could win at any point, and just is dragging this out for, balls.
Yeah.
There's a key line. There's an important line in that scene that comes from Sephiroth, and I just picked up on this when I just so I'm playing through hard mode. I just replayed it. There's an important line where when Sephiroth takes the black materia, he specifically says, "This is the key to help me find the real one." Right.
Oh yeah, there's
Or,
two
I'm
black
sure-
materias at least.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
says,
there might
"This
be
is the
multiple
key."
black materias.
There's
It
two
says
white
this is the key.
materias.
Yeah.
So and before that, Aerith had said there's no point fighting over a fake, talking about the black materia when they're about to get it. When Sephiroth gets it, he goes, "Oh, well, this will help me find what the real one is." So he's talking about a reunion in terms of like merging the worlds together, quote unquote. So anyway, continue.
Okay, so anyway, Sephiroth attacks them. Meanwhile, in the Zack dimension...
Wait,
Zack
the cat
is-
uses no idea what the Zack dimension is yet.
Oh yeah, every so often when like Cloud goes to sleep or gets knocked unconscious, our perspective switches to Zack, and like the Zack dimension is a dead world. Like
Wait,
there's this giant crack in the sky.
Let me
Everyone
interrupt one
except
thing.
Zack seems to believe the world is ending.
Let me interrupt
yeah,
one
go
thing.
on.
Cat use, Zack is on the cover of this
Igarashi?
game. So how much do you think Zack is in this game, considering he's on the cover? He's one of the three main characters
Let me
on the
look at
cover.
the cover really quick.
Yeah.
I need to see.
Also,
Okay, here's
also
the cover.
keep
Okay,
in
I'm
mind
looking
that
at this.
this was estimated to be a 100-hour main story, and that's pretty much accurate.
So we got Cloud, we got Sephiroth, and we got Zack, and they
Yeah.
seem like all equally important.
Mm-hmm.
Probably. I mean, the fact that you're asking, I
Well-
don't know. This sounds like it sounds like he's like Laguna in Final Fantasy VIII, right?
Way too
Except
high.
that instead of what? Okay. Maybe he's in the game for like an hour then.
Yes, he's in the game
I
at
would
most
say
2
of
hours.
This 100, yes, I would say of this 100-hour game, Zack is around for about 2 hours of it.
I will say when you
Also,
replay
I Google searched the FF7 Rebirth cover, and it recommends me Chiropractors Bakersfield. So I think Google
Huh.
is broken.
Bakersfield, California?
I guess. I don't know.
Okay.
I will say, when you replay the game, you get the option to turn off those scenes and skip them.
Oh, nice.
The gameplay,
Yeah.
the gameplay's a lot better when you turn them off. Like the story flows much better, in my opinion. Like, it's not that they're particularly bad scenes. It's just I feel like I was enjoying it a lot more when I don't switch to Zack.
Okay. So,
Right,
like,
so meanwhile in the Zack dimension, Cloud's in a coma, Aerith's in a coma, everyone else in Avalanche except for Biggs is dead, and Biggs has decided he's going to continue bombing the reactors, and
What?
Zack has to. Yeah,
Well,
Biggs
all
has
right,
decided
so-
that he's
so-
going to continue doing Avalanche's job and continue bombing the Marco reactors.
well, all right. So this
And-
entire alternate universe involves Zack and Biggs mostly hanging around and looking for a purpose, trying to figure out why they're still alive. Ultimately, the game kind of decides there really isn't one for Biggs, at least, because he just gets killed anyway.
Yeah, so Zack has to decide between helping Biggs or storming the Shinra building, try to find Hojo, get answers about what the hell happened to Cloud and him in the experiments.
But then both happens at
And-
the same time.
Yes, this point of decision fractures that alternate dimension into 3 alternate dimensions. One where Zack goes after Biggs, and Biggs decides, and he finds Biggs at one of the reactors, and Biggs has called it off because he's gotten into the reactor, looked down, found that it's completely empty. The life stream in this world is dead. And then Shinra soldiers come after them, kill him, and Zack reenacts his last stand. In another dimension, Zack gets to the Shinra building, which is of course heavily guarded, and reenacts his last stand. And then in a third dimension, he decides that he shouldn't do either of them, goes back to the church, gets attacked by Sephiroth.
Contributes vaguely in the final boss in ways that are very unclear.
Yeah. Meanwhile,
This is
in
just
yet
Igarashi.
Meanwhile, in yet another alternate dimension, Cloud wakes up. This is the Cloud from the main main dimension. And you should note, I am specifically not using timeline because these don't appear to be actual alternate timelines. Like, they do not make any logical sense. Cloud wakes up, Aerith wakes up, but according to Ultimania, this is not the Aerith from the original dimension. This is the Aerith from this specific dimension.
Which,
And like,
one thing we're leaving out is that in this timey-wimey nonsense land that they're in, Marlene has played the original Final Fantasy VII and tells Zack spoilers at one point.
Yeah.
Yes.
What?
Yes. Marlene outright tells Zack that the silver-haired man is going to kill Aerith when she wakes up.
Except there is no Sephiroth in this universe, so I have no idea what that refers to. What Marlene this is. There's an Elmira there. Zack and Elmira have a very sexually charged scene in the flowers, which doesn't really go anywhere.
Elmira,
Aerith's adopted mom.
Aerith's
Yeah.
mom?
Yep.
Yeah. So anyway, Aerith finally Aerith has, after 2 whole games, she finally manages to pressure Cloud into having an actual date in this alternate dimension where everyone is convinced that the world is going to end. Now, like, there are a few choices that you can do on the date that literally don't matter because, like, you'll talk to a stalker, they'll offer multiple options for free because who cares about money because you're all going to die soon anyway.
The apocalypse solved capitalism, finally.
Yeah, and then you'll make a choice and the showcase goes, no, actually, how about you have this instead? And
Right.
But
Yeah.
Anyway, at the end of this,
there's a lot of different dogs. There's so many different stamps during this sequence. There's like 4.
Yes, there's like 6.
Oh god, I miscounted how many stamps there are.
Yeah, and
if anyone doesn't know and you're listening and you're completely lost anyway, Stamp is the mascot cartoon dog that his different design seems to be an indication that we're in a different timeline or universe or world or something.
Yes, and there was like this week patch that, in addition to a few fixes, actually changed a few of the stamp textures to be correct to which dimension they're in because they accidentally used the wrong one in the main story a couple times.
Oh.
But yeah, anyway, eventually they make it to the church. Aerith pulls out this white materia because for most of Rebirth, the white materia that Aerith in the original dimension has had, it's broken, it's empty, it's just a clear materia now, nothing in it. Aerith pulls out this working materia, gives Cloud the clear materia, and then just like pushes him into like some portal back to the main dimension, while the church doors open and Sephiroth starts coming in. Anyway, back to the.
Sephiroth's about to kill Aerith in that world, So
yeah.
It's
then back to Universe A.
It's regardless of what choice Zack makes or what choice Aerith makes, they meet the same fate in the end, so it doesn't matter.
Right. Anyway, back to the main timeline dimension. Aerith has gone ahead to the Forgotten City.
Things are happening as they should in the original Final Fantasy VII for a while.
Things are happening as they should. Aside from the fact that we've completely skipped Bone Village, and I don't think Part 3 is going to return to that because they moved the Temple of the Ancients to about where Bone Village was.
Oh,
in
yeah,
the original game.
Oh yeah, the Temple of the Ancients is on the northern continent now.
I think they'll include Bone Village in some form. I just don't think it will be I don't think it will be what it was in the original, if that makes sense. I think they'll just be
shit that nobody cares about. Like Eligor got a backstory.
Yeah.
But they got rid of Bone Village.
Well, I'll confess one thing: I did not remember Bone Village at all. I did not even realize they skipped that part of the game.
Yeah.
It was very unmemorable in the original.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, they make it to the Forgotten Capital. Sephiroth's taunting them, making it clear that he's going to do something. Aerith's down there praying. He's got to do something about it. And they try to enter the city, and a whisper wall similar to the one that they go through to start the final boss sequence of Remake shows up.
Oh, but now Catuse Cat use, we left out something.
There's
There's
the
two
scene-
kinds of whispers now. There's white and black ones.
Yeah. And
Yeah, and then
they seem
before
to
that,
they seem to be allying themselves to like Sephiroth or Aerith. Like the whispers aren't like time cops or anything like people keep joking they are. They just seem to be souls of the live stream that are allying themselves with certain factions.
Yeah. The before that, the scene with Aerith in the forest in the original game where Aerith says, "Oh, let me handle Sephiroth" thing.
Yeah.
That pretty much happens mostly the same way with like some changed dialogue. So that's
Right.
still in there.
All right, Cat use, do you have any questions so far?
I don't know if I can formulate a question because none of that made any sense.
Yeah, this is the worst podcast we've ever done so far. It's a complete.
No, actually, no, I do have a question.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So
Do you remember that book that the two of us read? Not the Memory Police, the one where they go to the moon and they go back in time. And the point of the book is that science doesn't actually matter and everyone has COVID.
Yes. That was the one that was written by Station 11 writer. The one that was really
Sea of
bad.
Tranquility, that's what it's called.
Yeah, Sea of Tranquility.
Is the plot of this game just the plot of Sea of Tranquility?
No.
We have so the time police are fighting each other, and I mean that's the main thing that I've taken away so far is that the time police are fighting each other.
It
But
does
they don't
not
have COVID this time.
No, there's no
Close
COVID, there's
enough.
no plagues. The plagues come later. That's Geostigma. That's for Advent Children times. There's none of that. There are nobody
I'm
nobody
not playing an
seems
Advent Children remake.
I don't think they're going to remake Advent Children. Nobody's seems to be actually time traveling, and there is not a time police organization of any kind. There is just the will of the planet that is divided in some way. Sometimes metafictionally, but no longer in this game. The spirits do not serve a metafictional purpose anymore.
Yeah. I have theories, and probably me talking about these theories might be the worst part of this upcoming podcast. But
Okay.
yeah, there doesn't appear to be time travel in this story. Like I think it's precognitive effects of the live stream or something.
The live stream, I guess what I'm taking away from this is that the live stream is like a bunch of entities all at once, because there's the weapons and there's the light whispers and the dark whispers and...
Well, we left out a very key scene
Yeah.
along the way, actually. All right, so you might have had a theory at some point during this game that Cloud would actually kill Tifa. Actually, the creators of this game have seen everyone's theories and responded mostly with yes. So they have fake-outs of all of these. So there is a fake-out scene where Tifa dies and falls in the live stream and gets eaten by a giant whale, which is a weapon. Doesn't look like any of the weapons we know as wiki fanatics.
Yeah, all the weapons we've seen so far in this story are just giant whales, and they appear to be recontextualizing the huge materia from the original 7 as being like the cores of weapons.
Which I like. That's a good idea. It
Yeah.
adds the two things together pretty well.
Yeah, there was this cool scene in Intergrade, or was it? No, was it Intergrade or was it Rebirth Part 1, where the Shinra suits are all standing around talking?
That might be part 1. What were they talking about?
Okay, maybe I'm just making something up.
Were they talking about the Promised Land or anything like that?
Yeah.
All right, never mind.
Okay, I don't actually remember what they were talking. Never mind. I don't remember what they were talking about.
Okay, I didn't get to the punchline yet of this. I don't know, punchline's maybe too rude, but all right. So Tifa gets eaten by a weapon, and there's a long sequence, one of many in this game, where you have to press L2 or R2 in order to continue the scene. They're really fond of that.
Was in this game for some reason.
They're really fond of that thing. That's the height of Ludo narrative to them. So then Tifa goes to dream Nibelheim from Cloud's flashback sequence, which will not happen until part 3, and has several memories, which is implying that all the memories of everyone's world is actually physically real within the live stream, which means that all the worlds that we've been seeing and think are alternate universes might just be memories or wills somehow manifested down there in the big goo.
Yeah, that's the theory that I find most convincing so far.
Yeah.
So everything that happened with Cloud and Aerith on their date was somewhere in some level of reality that's physically happening, and Sephiroth wants to converge all the worlds and then presumably drop a giant rock on it and conquer the universe.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then Aerith, SomeColorMage, you want to talk about the Aerith death scene?
Yeah, so anyway, back to chapter 14, there's this giant whisper wall. Aerith isn't with them, so they can't do the thing she did at the end of Remake. So everyone except Cloud, and this includes Vincent. Vincent has shown up for the purpose of this scene. Shows up. But they just fucking pull the whisper wall apart so Cloud can go through.
And these are white whispers, not the black whispers.
Maybe well, there are white whispers later, but I think that wall's black whispers. I don't know.
Pretty sure they were white. You fight the white whispers right before this scene. There's a scene where you fight them.
Oh yeah, you do fight the white whispers before this. So I don't know. Maybe the wall was both. Who knows? You go down. You go down to where Aerith is praying, and this part's actually pretty good because you can actually hear her prayers, and she's at the same time it's trying to appeal for help to bring holy. She's also apologizing because, as the last Cetra, she was never taught how to do this, so she has no idea if she's doing it right at all. And you approach them, a bunch of whispers are trying to stop Cloud in another protracted press L2 and R2 over again sequence. He finally manages to break them free. He's right in front of Aerith, and Sephiroth comes down, and he parries it. He parries Sephiroth's blade. It gets stuck in the ground. And then one of Cloud's mental freakout glitches happen, and you can see blood start streaming across the floor. Sephiroth picks up the sword. It's covered in blood. The whisper wall disappears, and the rest of the party are able to rush down. And Aerith collapses. The white materia falls into the abyss. Cloud failed to change shit.
Fooled you! Yeah,
and
Sephiroth's
laughing. Sephiroth's laughing. Everything's still freaking out. It's like the blood keeps appearing and disappearing. Cloud's speech that happens in the original is completely blocked out by the sound of all the freakout glitches.
You don't hear any of this. It's like one of the best speeches of the game, and it's completely not in this game.
Yeah. And then Aerith starts moving, assuring Cloud that everything's still okay, and Aerith is still alive in Cloud's perspective, and this is actually demonstrated in the game because after this, the Sephiroth there turns into a Genova life clinger. And everyone except Cloud starts with a full limit break. That's actually a thing because everyone else sees that Aerith is dead. They know she's dead, but Cloud doesn't. So he's still acting as per normal.
Okay, and this is the part where the game starts to really suck ass because there's about 7 boss fights here. You need to make sure every one of your party members can take part in these fights. And do not think for a second that Aerith is not participating. If you took the materia off of her, you are fucked. You're not going to be able to beat the final boss.
Yeah, because everyone fights Genova Life Clinger after they defeat Genova. Cloud's back in the Edge of Creation. We're there with Sephiroth, but also Zack shows up.
Yeah, but Zack just has Cloud's kit, and I think also his materia.
You're also missing the part where, when the first battle happens, it's just the first of those several battles is just against Genova, and it has the same kind of music as the original did. It's Aerith's theme, the battle theme, and you're like, oh, that's cool. And then they suddenly stop doing that. Now they're into just normal battle theme music. right? And now the party members are sharing this fucking Disney-fied dialogue with one another. So we've just completely gotten rid of the tone. Like, we had the tone as the original at the start, and then we just completely threw it out.
Yeah. No, it's a good point. I mean, it's...
I disagree. I didn't find it particularly tone-breaking, but I think the somber tone of the original was already gone when the blow was parried. At that point, they're clearly going for something different, even if the final result is the same. It's not going for what the original was going for. In fact, Ultimania, they're pretty blatant that no, we're going for something different. We wanted to, more along the lines of we wanted to focus on cloud processing, the stages of grief and such.
Yeah, but they're going for something different, but nothing has changed in this game. Catuse, do you remember at the end of the first game when they defeat the ghosts and it's like, oh, the universe is going to change in some way? Like, the story is free to change in some way? Nothing changes in this game that did not happen in the first game. Like, it is more faithful than...
Not true. Gongaga.
Okay, yeah, there's a new dungeon in Gongaga. That's maybe the one major change. But, all the major events are still here. Mr. Dolphin's still here. We don't go to Rocket Town. That's the major...
There's also something in this ending that I've deliberately avoided mentioning because most people don't notice it.
Before you get to that, I'll just say, back to the point about, the original events are the same. They flow better in 7 Rebirth because they're not interrupted by whispers, quote-unquote, correcting it half the time.
Yeah. And, the other weird thing, and I mentioned this in my review, is, in the first game, I don't want the story to change. I don't care about fate dragging us forward. In this game, I actually would want fate not to be dragged forward because I know where this ends. It ends in this awful tragedy. And yet, the Whispers are not here. And it seems like the entire metafiction and dramatic irony has disappeared to instead be the white ones are controlled by Aerith and the black ones are controlled by Sephiroth and all this various nonsense. SomeColorMage, you had your thing. What was that thing you were talking about?
Can I get to that later? Because we haven't even got to the end of the game yet, the very end yet. So Sephiroth is dead.
The ending's long. It's
this is an hour or two.
Well, all right. So the point of no return starts at the beginning of the Tomb of the Ancients. So it's roughly about 9 hours from that point.
Oh yeah, chapter 13 is fucking long. You know how chapter 17 in Remake was a lot longer than it really should have been. Chapter 13 in Rebirth is a lot longer than it should have been.
I actually didn't think Temple of the Ancients was that long. I thought it was okay.
I don't know. So when I replayed it on hard mode, I still really like it. I'm not gonna lie, or at least I still think it's a lot better than 7 Remake. I agree with people when they say, some of the padding issues from Remake came back a little bit, and they point to Chapter 13 as when they start to come back a bit. And I can see that, but, having recently replayed it, I genuinely think, it's a really good chapter.
Okay, so I have to bitch about one very important thing. During the you fight Bizarro Sephiroth. They moved him
you fight Sephiroth first, and then he turns into Bizarro Sephiroth, or, because, the title alludes to his Japanese name, it's Sephiroth Reborn.
Yeah, whatever. He's Bizarro Sephiroth, that's what he's always going to be called. During these phases, there was one phase in particular where you have Barret, Yuffie, and Red 13 and have to go defeat the 2 wings. And the only way you can defeat the wings is to hit them with the right elemental attack, but I didn't have anyone with elemental materia, so this took me about, I don't know, a half hour to do.
You got Yuffie. You don't need elemental materia.
I know, but it's so annoying that only one character actually can do anything during this, and the other 2 are completely useless. And also, it's constantly switching moves. It's attacking you and can interrupt your attacks endlessly. It is maybe the most annoying part of this entire game.
I always put one of the dual elemental materia on Barret with the elemental materia as a support, and I always put them on armor for him. So I guess that's why I never had a problem with it.
I put all my materia on Aerith because I knew she'd be in the final boss. I didn't give anyone else materia except for Cloud and Aerith because I'm like, all these other fights I could just muscle through. Then when the final boss happens, I'll just kick his ass, and I did.
Yeah. So anyway, the fight against Bizarro Sephiroth Reborn, and like as various parties are damaging him in certain dimensions, like the damage is being reflected in other dimensions. So like Cloud is fighting him by itself. Zack is now fighting it by itself because at the end of the phase with human Sephiroth, he just like cut the platform that Cloud and Zack are standing on in half, and now they've been separated into different dimensions, and eventually everyone kills Sephiroth Reborn, and there's one final duel with human Sephiroth, but an alive Aerith is there helping Cloud, and like even Sephiroth is thinking, wow, this is bullshit.
And like I complain about this in the review that I wrote, but like Aerith has been dead for all of about 20 minutes if you did this right, or an hour if you did it wrong. You have had no point to ever miss her or feel like she's not here. Aerith being missing would be a major mechanical change in this game, considering she's the one major black mage. So like if I were to go like hours without her, suddenly I would not have anyone that's good at black magic, and I would really miss her. But in this game, she hasn't been gone for at all. And now she's rejoining this. And this should be like, oh my god, Aerith's here. Reunion! I should be like crying like a little baby. Instead, I feel nothing at all because like this is way too soon. This is just ineffective. And I have no idea what's going on. Is Aerith alive or dead? What the hell is this shit? What does it matter if I win or not? Because I'm in some time dimension anyway.
Anyway, after defeating Sephiroth, kind of skip ahead a bit. It's clearly after when the equivalent of the burial scene would have been in the original.
Defeating is in quotes because Sephiroth just decides that battle didn't count and moves on.
Yeah. I mean, obviously something different must have happened because Cloud still thinks Aerith is alive. And like Cloud is still talking to Aerith while everyone else is clearly realizes she's dead. And you know, Cloud must look completely fucking insane because he has, like, to anyone else he would look like he's completely lost it because no one else can see Aerith still alive.
He's crazy in two different ways at this point, considering Sephiroth's fully possessed him.
Yeah. They go back to they eventually head back outside.
What?
Oh yeah. We forgot that bit. Sephiroth routinely possesses Cloud, or like Cloud during the course of this game is. This is actually very well done. During the course of the game, he's degenerating and becoming less and less himself, and more a Sephiroth clone.
Cloud's Sephiroth clone tendencies are a lot more blatant in Rebirth. Like there are times where he just like will fight exactly like Sephiroth. There's like. I mean, we talked about the scene where like they do the fake out Tifa death, and like before that scene, Cloud just starts butchering a ton of random Shinra grunts, and he starts by like assuming the same battle stance Sephiroth does, and like he also like starts quoting one line that Sephiroth has kept using as this one liner before he kills people, like it's not it's more like a homecoming.
Yeah, he keeps telling that to people. In the final dungeon, everyone has their big moment of like revelation because the ancients, in some kind of cruel joke, makes everyone have to relive the worst moment of their lives, except for Cloud. Cloud is exempt because he's not really himself anymore. And like after that, everyone kind of shares their revelation, and Aerith has something of a speech, and Cloud now is like mostly gone, and he's like, yeah, let's move forward, guys. And then the best bit is when he hands the black materia to Sephiroth. He is like fully in like happy kitty mode. He's never been more at peace. He's just like, his eyes are so light. He's like, yes, I'm giving my black orb to my daddy.
Yeah. So anyway, they eventually head back outside. Sid has been repairing the tiny Bronco, and they made clear that next destination is Northern Crater because Cloud really wants to go there. He's pretty sure Sephiroth is there. They gotta chase him and do whatever. And Aerith is telling Cloud, no, I can't join you. I have to stay here. Stay here. This is goodbye. While everyone else still thinks she's dead. Well, Nanaki senses her presence, but still thinks she's dead.
Oh, and Cloud is the black materia now.
Yeah, Cloud. He looks at the clear materia that Aerith gave him, puts it away. Hears a clinking sound, pulls out a black materia, and he goes full Sephiroth clone, and equips it to his Buster Sword. And gets on the tiny Bronco.
In like a weird way too. It's not like in the materia slot. It like dissolves into the metal in some way.
Which I guess that's how all the materia works for the swords. Then I don't know.
Well, most of the swords they actually like have the little spaces. Everyone's equipment you can go see what materia they have equipped, except for this one. This one's too important. Or too timey-wimey, I don't know.
Yeah, and so they head north. There's a sort of reenactment of that shot of Aerith looking at the Highwind that's like used on one of the disc change screens.
Mm-hmm.
Like they kind of do a reenactment of that, but with the tiny Bronco as it leaves, and it's like no promises away to Journey's End appears on screen, and like the end to be concluded.
Oh, and then Catyu's favorite character, Glenn. We have to talk about that.
Oh right, I fucking forgot that they head back. That they cross back to the Shinra building. And Rufus is not very happy with Glenn, who has since the events of Ever Crisis become the ambassador for Wutai.
And he's also he's a member of Organization 13 now. No, he does the black corridor things. He's like 100% a Organization 13 guy.
And throughout the course of Rebirth, both Shinra and Wutai have pretty much openly been more aggressive with each other until just before the point of no return, Wutai actively declares war. And like Rufus is pissed off. Glenn's being a mysterious dick. Rufus shoots Glenn. Turns out he's a Sephiroth clone.
And Glenn was never there at all.
Yeah.
Wait, I need to remind myself of this character, Glenn.
Who's Glenn?
I need to look at a picture.
How do you not remember the iconic Final Fantasy VII character, Glenn? You know, he's the frog.
My favorite character from the best game, Final Fantasy VII, the First Soldier. I love that game.
Yeah, you know, remember he was a frog knight, and you gave him the Masamune and became the Master Mune? Right?
Although, according to Nomura now, he did make Glenn for the remake trilogy before, like he got put into the First Soldier and Ever Crisis. What have you?
I don't like to call bullshit on something a creator says, but I'm going to call bullshit 100% on Glenn ever having any point in any of this. He's here to sell Ever Crisis. Like, his entire plotline is a pointless aside of just two characters talking past each other that ends up going nowhere. Also, Glenn serves a mysterious character called Minister Saruf, whose name is Rufus backwards.
Yeah, it's obviously Rufus.
Yeah.
Minister is the new character.
Minister Saruf. Yeah. And then the credits play.
But yeah, that's the end. Find out what the hell any of this means in 2027.
Oh, and the ending credits are Kingdom Hearts ending credits. They do like the spirally effect.
Yeah, well, that's just a visually cool thing, and
it is cool, but you know, it's Kingdom Hearts like coded. Not Kingdom Hearts, the game coded, but it's coded as a Kingdom Hearts thing. So there you are, Catuse. You've now beaten Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. How do you feel?
Mostly I'm just confused.
Yeah,
That's about right.
I mean, I assume the rest of the game is better because that was how it was for the first game and Intergrade.
Yeah.
no, the rest of the game is possibly the best Final Fantasy. Not possibly. It's definitely the best Final Fantasy since 12. I don't think that's even controversial. The rest of the game is just phenomenal. But yeah, like what the fuck is that ending?
Yeah. It's a bummer, and the kind of like worst thing is realizing that like part 3 is gonna happen. We're gonna have to do that entire boss sequence again, and probably
Yeah.
the same kind of final boss again, considering how
So
many.
at the
like,
very
I
least,
don't-
so at the very least, it will probably be about the same length because hey, we already killed Bizarro in this game. We don't need to fight him again.
Yeah, but now there's
Well,
gonna be
see,
like
yeah,
9
well-
stages of safer Sephiroth.
Well, the original game went exactly the same way. You know, it's one boss after one boss after one boss, and then there's a cinematic boss. Right, the original went exactly the same way, so I don't expect this to be much different than that. The difference is, that this time I feel like that boss gauntlet at the end will actually make sense. Like the placement of it will make sense, and it will be like expected. Whereas in both of these, it's kind of just we interrupt the story of Final Fantasy VII Original to give you boss gauntlet, and it's just like what, like, it's like they're putting it in because it's like, well, we can't give you a Final Fantasy VII game and not give you a Sephiroth boss fight, right? We can't not end with some massive battle at the end because that's going to be so disappointing. I personally completely disagree.
Yeah.
I think if you just ended Final Fantasy VII Remake with the multiple boss battle, I think that would have been fine.
Oh
But
no,
I
that
was-
that boss sucked in that game.
No, Motorball sucked ass.
Yeah, we don't.
No,
wanna
I
have
mean
that.
not as the way it was fought in the game. Like if it ended as an actual boss battle, as in actually you fight it with your party, like what happened in the original, and they just ended on that note, I would have been fine with that. Like I don't think we needed some giant ass. Oh, look how grand!
I mean,
and
maybe-
epic this
I
is."
mean, maybe you would have been fine with it, but I feel like that would have been just generally derided as anticlimactic.
I
So
think
I get
Well,
what
I
people
feel
say
like-
that. I disagree.
So
Cat, you go.
I feel like there's a compromise solution here because probably the best boss fight in 7 Remake is Rufus, right?
Oh, that's in this
Yeah.
game too.
If they Okay, well, hopefully it's as good as in the original one.
It's the same
Yeah,
fight, so
I
yeah,
feel
it
like
is.
They could have had.
No, it's not the same. It's not quite
It's
the
actu-
same.
It's
moveset's
actually a
little
bit harder because like in this version now, if you get hit by obvious attacks and basically get forced into a position where he's safe to reload without counterattack, he'll do it immediately. So so now you actually either have to be really good at just fucking barreling through the fight, or be really good at actually blocking or dodging his shit.
So sorry,
And
Cat Use
also-
was making a point about Rufus.
What I was gonna say is, yeah, ending Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 1 with Motorball would be pretty dumb, but you could end it with Rufus, right? That would be
Yeah.
badass.
Yeah, I
You don't
would
need
have
Sephiroth to
done
have
that.
a badass final boss sequence.
I think personally, I think that's an okay idea. I think personally, Part 1 ending with a big Sephiroth fight in the sky that's like, oh look, we can do Advent Children for real in our games is a cool flex. I think it was a good marketing ploy to kind of sell the entire trilogy and get people excited. I think Part 2 could have easily ended with a fight against Genova that was not at all difficult, that just had the Aerith theme playing over it, and then the scene playing out exactly as it did in the original. It would have been better off for it. And you don't actually need a climatic final boss at the end of this game. That this game should
No, I-
end on 100% a bummer.
But like,
Completely agree.
here's the thing. I mentioned last podcast episode that the boss that I liked the most was spoilers. Because for me that was Life Clinger. That was an excellent fight, and while someone might be blindsided by not equipping everything, I thought it was a really good fight that requires you to at least try and use near everything the game throws at you. parts of the later phases were parts of the later fights were kind of iffy. Although playing as Zack was fun, but
It was.
also before this game came out, I guess there was more to Sephiroth than just that intro because he seemed too well involved. And yeah, I was correct. After you beat the game, Sephiroth and Zack become available in VR.
Oh,
Yeah.
they actually have more to their kit than what you saw, Rit?
I don't think it expands their kits, but there are some of the hardest challenges are like Cloud and either Sephiroth or Zack versus this boss gauntlet.
Yeah, it's a. I haven't played them yet, but yeah, it's a good idea. I think it's a good use of it.
Zack doesn't get to use any of his slots, which is like his main thing.
He does get meteor shots though.
Yeah, but like when I'm playing Zack, I want to go and have like fake crisis core happen. So like every 30 seconds a limit break slams down because his fight should not be difficult anyway, considering he's not like a real party member. Also,
And every fight involving him with conflict resolved.
yeah, exactly. Play the bad crisis core battle theme for a second instead
Oh
of the,
god.
yeah.
That one.
Maybe. That might be it. I don't know. I will say one other thing is, like, in terms of pacing, the Aerith moment is not a good place to put a final boss, because, like,
Nope.
where this game maybe should have gone to is all the way to the Northern Crater, because I could see that ending with a final boss sequence, because after that there's a time skip. A lot of climatic stuff happens. You realize Cloud's weirdness, all that sort of thing. And then, like, if Aerith were to show... Yes.
I'm going to guess that they wanted like the lead up to like finding Sephiroth's corpse to be a tutorial because like after that sequence, Cloud's out of the party for a good while. So
Yeah,
like,
that might be it.
And also, like, if...
basically that becomes a reset point and yeah.
And what I'm saying is, like, if there was another, like, 5 hours, and, like, I understand this game is long as shit, and asking for another, like, 5-10 hours is an extravagant request. But, like, if there's another 5-10 hours between the moment where Aerith dies and the moment where she reappears magically and saves the day, that would land much better as melodrama. And, you know, Deus Ex Machina and, like, she's back and I love you, Aerith, and everything like that. Instead, it's like, man, you fucking left like 20 minutes ago. Like, I don't care you're gone. Like, are you here or not? I don't even know if you're dead or not.
Well, I think that I don't know if you're dead or not is kind of the point because it's Cloud's perspective. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Let me just say this, right? You know, as a veteran of the Mass Effect discourse, right? As someone who played Mass Effect 3 when it came out and remembered how shocking that ending was. That's genuine. Like, the ending of Mass Effect 3 was genuinely atrocious.
Like, this is nowhere on Mass Effect 3 levels. Mass Effect 3 ending is the result of insecure writers being upset that they crafted a story that's good enough people were able to guess the ending. Like, we know how Nomura and Nojima react to that because it happened for Stranger Paradise, and they just said, okay, they guessed it, have all the ads lean into it.
Yeah.
How did Stranger Paradise end? I don't even know.
Jack being Ireland.
Yeah. I was thinking of the whole business with, like, the Canarians are, like, from space, and you gotta go fight them. Sorry?
Not the DLC, the main story.
Oh, okay.
Like the ending of the main story. Like most of the stuff about like the Lufenians and stuff is saved for the DLC.
Oh,
yeah, it's actually when you think about it, it's actually a really cool idea.
From Final Fantasy IV?
No, that's the Lunarians, Lufenians.
Oh, the Sky people, the Sky Fortress people. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. You know, I don't care. I don't know why I do this to
myself.
No.
The Final Fantasy origin story is actually pretty, like, at least the Jack stuff is actually pretty cool because it's like, oh, you know, he's basically like the evil version of the Warrior of Light, and seeing him become Garland. Yeah, I mean that stuff's actually kind of cool, right? Yeah, like no, the ending for 7 Remake and 7 Rebirth is not nearly as bad as Mass Effect 3.
Yeah,
right?
and there's no chance of that happening because judging by the date of the Ultimania interviews, there's a good chance that the script for Part 3 is already finished.
Yeah, that's what
the interviews were like February 2, and Nomura says, "Oh, we're already nearly done with the script for Part 3. We want to start voice recording this year."
Okay.
Yeah.
So, SomeColorMage, you were implying something that people had missed, and were like, you've been very cagey about it. What's this thing?
So this is kind of ties into theories of where I think things may be heading, and like, so in Final Fantasy VII, when Aerith dies, the white materia falls from her hair, but it's green. And you find out later on that the white materia turns green once it's been activated and Holy's been cast. And this isn't something they forgot because there are multiple references to that scene in Weird Memory Freakouts in Remake, and they're done in a way that the materia looks green. In Rebirth, it's still white when that happens.
But sometimes it's clear too.
Well, yeah, but the materia that falls from Aerith's hair when she dies falls into the water. That's still white, which implies that she failed to cast Holy in this version.
Okay. And so in the next game, we're going to have to... Someone else is going to have to die to cast Holy?
I mean... I don't know what happens, but since Cloud has this broken white materia on his hand, the clear materia, I think we have to do something to fix this. Like, yeah, I think that I don't know if they did this deliberately, but this whole confusion seems to have worked as a feint for this big plot twist just staring us in the face.
Okay. All right, I guess so. That's kind of like my lack of good reaction to this is like, this all feels so plotty and specific and proper nouns that like, where is the human element to any of this? What I love so much about Cloud's speech that is not in this game that's been cut out is like, Cloud for like this moment is like, can you cut the fucking bullshit, please? Everyone, my friend is dead, and that means something. We have to stop and recognize the horror of this. And meanwhile, in this game, that never happens. Instead, it like doubles and triples down to the point that multiple, I think, successful elements of the original game are now weaker because the life stream is no longer the lifeblood of the planet. It's no longer the Gaia hypothesis thing that it used to be. It's now some sort of compendium of memories and chain of memories. Who the hell knows where we're going with this? Shinra is less evil than they used to be, so the anti-capitalist metaphor seems more confused. I don't know what's going on with Wutai. I don't care.
Well, most of Shinra is still blatantly evil. It's just that they're trying to soften Rufus specifically to try and sell the fact that he's a good guy in Advent Children and Dirge of Cerberus.
Yeah, but that was a mistake. Rufus should have been fucking stone cold killed by the weapon at the end of 7, and that should have been the end of Rufus. He should have been obliterated, and that's it.
Agreed.
Right,
but
absolutely, but like they've made it clear that they're not contradicting the compilation for better or worse.
Rufus is the only one, and also Rufus is still not a particularly nice guy. Like, so I don't know that I agree that they've made Shinra less evil, particularly.
Well, this game's no longer about.
They're all less evil. I found Hojo creepier in this than in the original. Honestly,
yeah, Hojo's way worse.
Scarlet
is way more.
The further you take, What I mean is, like, the further you take this game away from its ecology terrorism metaphor, which, like, that is a problem with the original game, is, like, it starts off very strongly about the horrors of energy abuse and what we're doing to the world, and gets increasingly lost in anime boys, love triangles. But the further you walk away from that, and the more you go to timelines or whatever other stuff, like, that just gets weaker and weaker every time we move.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree at all. Like, I feel like, ultimately, when we get to the end of Final Fantasy VII Remake Trilogy, I don't think it's gonna be as good as the original game. But I'll caveat that, the story specifically, like, because the gameplay is just phenomenal. Like, the game, as far as I'm concerned, the gameplay has beaten the original for me, right? Story-wise, I don't think it's gonna beat it, right? But I never really thought it could, so I've always been of the opinion that, like, remakes almost never beat the original, So, a good example I'll use is The Last of Us, the TV show remake, right? Everything that I don't know how you feel about this, Blue. I think you watched it.
I did watch it, yeah.
Okay. I feel like every moment in The Last of Us, the TV show, that was just a carbon copy of the original, I always felt like the original did that better. And everything that The Last of Us, the show, did that was new, all the new stuff, was the best part of the show, right? And I was completely fine with that. And I was happy with the show because I felt like that show was not made for me. Like, I felt like, or maybe I'm wrong about that, but I felt like the best part of that show was all these people who don't play video games at all, or for whatever reason hadn't played The Last of Us. Now they get to experience a story that I really love, right? So I did not care that the remake doesn't do the original better than the original did it. All I cared about was I get to enjoy this new take on it, which I thought was a really good take, right? And I'm happy with the new stuff they added. But the main thing I was excited about was other people get to experience this story, right? So, if 7 Remake Trilogy ends, as I suspect it will, a worse story than Final Fantasy VII, the original, right? I'm not concerned because I just know that it's gonna, as it already has, it's gonna bring new people in and they're gonna go back and they're gonna discover the original, right? So my opinion on the ending and where it's going and all that stuff is, I really don't care because that's not what I'm here for, right? I'm not here for let's do the same story again, right? Or let's do the same story but try and make it better, because as far as I'm concerned, my favorite story beats from the original have already been done now in 7 Rebirth, right? And I didn't feel like 7 Rebirth did them better, but I also, again, I didn't care, right?
Well, in a lot of cases, they did them worse. Yeah.
No, yeah, exactly. I completely agreed. Like, the story beat might be a little worse in how it's done, but it doesn't, like, it just doesn't take away from my enjoyment of the remake trilogy, if that makes sense. I don't know how you all feel about it, but that's where I'm at with it. Is like, I didn't enjoy this ending. I didn't enjoy the ending of 7 Remake, right? I just don't care what happens next. Because that's never been the thing that pulled me in.
I honestly would have appreciated it if they changed more, but I think part 3, with what we've seen of the story so far, actually has to deliver on that, because think of what's left. They've changed what Wutai is and its relation to the broader story. They've changed what the weapons are. They've changed what the huge materia are. They've changed Sid. They've already changed nearly everything that is left to cover in the way that in a way that makes it radically different. Even if it ends in the same place, which they say that the ending still has to lead to Advent Children, so it can't be significantly different. What's left, they've already promised to be something that feels appreciably different from the original.
Well, I would think they might change things, but they didn't change anything at all in this game. When, like the opportunity was there to go and rewrite different things. The story is incredibly slavish, except for all this additional meta stuff that ultimately feels mostly like a pose. Like it was just there to go and create forum speculation when really they're just going to tell the same story again. So I think we're going to have the same slap fight on top of the cannon. We're going to go into space. Yeah, we are. That's going to happen. You know what? This is another like completely tangent complaint, but Scarlet and Tifa being rivals doesn't make any sense. Scarlet should be Barrett's rival. They're the ones with beef. They're the ones with personal issues because she shot off his arm and basically killed his best friend. But they always have to have the girls fight. So Tifa and Aerith and Yuffie had...
Scarlet and Yuffie's rival as well.
Yeah, but they had their girl fight in this game, which was one of the better boss fights. So like they're gonna have that scene again. They have every other mini game. They have to bring back the mini game. So they're gonna have a slap fight on top of the cannon. It's gonna happen.
Yep.
We're gonna have the submarine. We're gonna have the carry armor fight. All those scenes that a fan of the original game would want and be upset if they're not here. They're going to be here with some additional thing thrown in that will mostly be entirely tedious and do very little to narratively expand the story that's already here.
No. Like, I'm sorry, but if you don't think that the Junon parade was done much better this time, I don't know what game we played.
Well, yeah, I think Junon is done better, but like they recreated Junon. Like if all right, so like at the beginning of this game, Zack's alive, quote unquote. That should change everything. Like that should be radically different. We should be at the point of divergence. We should be at Full Metal Alchemist episode 30 or whatever it is, where they just go off in their own world past the manga. Like that's what should have happened if Zack's alive. Instead, they ghettoize Zack into some time dimension, so he's alive and not alive, and everything that they set up ended up being completely pointless.
Yeah, okay, from that perspective, sure. But like, yeah, it's...
Which I'm fine with. Like, if you just want to make the same game again, just make the same game again. Like, that's what everyone was asking for in the first place. You didn't have to introduce whispers or any of this stuff.
No, yeah, I mean, I agree, like, all the meta stuff around it, like, so, it's funny, right? When I played Remake, my take on Remake, my initial reaction to that ending was, why the fuck did you do that? Because remember, this was the time when so much, like, divisive stuff had come out in media, Star Wars The Last Jedi had just come out, right? There was so much stuff where it felt like the idea of the writers or the directors or whoever it was, how do we make something that's like, gonna get people talking? We're gonna like split the audience down the middle. And it felt almost like writers were trying to piss us off by subverting our expectations. And I just felt like, after we'd had, the other thing that happened was we just had 13 and 15, those were the last entries. And they just really needed a game to like bring people back on their side again. So I was so pissed off that when I heard about the ending for 7 Remake, I was like, why did you have to do that? Not from the sense of like what happened itself. Like I didn't care about that. What I cared about was like, you had this surefire hit of getting everyone back on your side, and instead you choose to piss people off, right? And then the more I thought about it, the more that I read stuff about it, and then the more theory crafting I heard, I was like, oh, okay, maybe it wasn't that bad of an idea, right? Over time, that ending won me over a little bit more, right? And even though, like, the more theory crafting I'm seeing around this one, the more stuff I'm seeing that makes me think, oh, actually, it's not that bad of an idea. Actually, they do have some interesting stuff in there. I still have the same opinion that I originally had of, like, why is this here? The same opinion you have, Blue. Like, I'm like, why? I just feel like I don't feel like it's enhanced the story. Even if it turns out there's some amazing payoff at the end, right? And I'm still open to that. You know, I'm still open to the idea that maybe they'll execute it really well this time. They haven't so far, so that would be, it'd be impressive.
I will regret my words and my deeds if 7-3 comes out and all of this turns out to have all been leading somewhere amazing. I will fall on my sword.
I won't.
Okay.
Yeah, I won't.
Okay.
That's where I'm different, right? If it does turn out great, I'll still be of the opinion of like, well done, but I don't know. I don't know why you did that. Like, anyway, there's my take on it.
Well, we can all be thankful for one thing. Genesis is not in this game.
Oh yes, thank fuck for that.
Yeah. He could easily have showed up at multiple points, and isn't Gact like isn't there like a cancellation against him? Like there's some sort of allegation or something.
I know.
I feel like we're never going to see Gact again in a game. So there we are, Catuse. What did you think of all that?
I mean, I think it seems more coherent than I thought it would be.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in the sense that there's some weird time nonsense, but it can sort of be black boxed.
Yeah, that would be my goal, probably.
Yeah.
Right, like, and this sort of happens in the original remake as well, where like you have all this shit with Jesse's parents, right? It's like, oh, the plot is diverging, but then the Whisperers forced Cloud to go fight Airbuster anyways. And that's a much smaller scale version of kind of what you just described, where yeah, there's new shit, but it could also just sort of be black box. I don't really care about Jesse's parents, though they're probably more interesting characters than Glenn or whatever his name is.
Gwen?
Yeah. Glenn.
Oh, Glenn. Oh, I thought you. I don't know who
that
Glenn
his name?
is.
Whatever.
Yeah, Glenn. Frog from Chrono Trigger.
But I don't know. I mean, yeah, I don't know. It sounds like a parody of Higurashi, but the parts that if you look inside the black box, that's what it sounds like.
No, I mean, I agree with that take for the most part. It is kind of like that. But also, I will say that, like, thank God, to reiterate a point I made earlier, thank God the story of 7 Rebirth this time doesn't have the Whispers forcing you to do shit or, like, putting you on the path for it. It's just that the party end up that way anyway. Oh, also, like, one area that it does improve on the original is, like, sometimes... So, for example, like, you'll still go through the locations in the same order, so you'll still go from Costa del Sol to Corel to Gungaga. Well, Gungaga is the option in the original. To Gungaga, to Cosmo Canyon. That'll still happen, but there's, like, a reason for you going there this time, as opposed to, like, in the original, it's just, oh, the buggy won't let you go past another place. Oh, how convenient, you don't have a way of getting to Nibelheim without the buggy. Like, that kind of thing, and they just kind of say go north or like go, there's no like it's not like clear as to why they're going a certain way as much, as opposed to like this time each location there's a reason for you actually going there, and the reason isn't just, well, the Whispers told me.
Well, in this case, it's Sephiroth clones were spotted there, so we have to go there.
Most of the time, yeah, but not all the time. There was a specific reason for going to Cosmo Canyon, for instance.
Yeah, but and also like say
all the 90s Final Fantasy games.
Sorry, what?
Yeah, you are right. That's pretty much what all of the older Final Fantasy games are like. You just go somewhere because that's the next location available to you.
No, but like in Final Fantasy X, you go there. You go to a place because it's the next place on the pilgrimage. There's a story reason for you going there. 12, there's a story reason for you going everywhere that you do. Right?
Well, in Final Fantasy X, you go to the next place because Spira has one road in the entire continent.
Well, yeah, I mean that too, but like, yeah, like so I thought that was cool. It's like we're not changing the order. I thought originally, I thought we were gonna wildly change the order of every place we went to, and that just didn't happen. Instead, it's the same order, but now there's an actual reason for it, which I thought that was pretty sweet.
I don't know. I think it's fine for JRPGs to just be JRPGs, and you just go town to town.
Yeah, and I get that too, but like, I guess what I'm getting at is I'm so glad that the reason for going from place to place wasn't just the whispers correcting them to go that way. Because that, when I go back and replay the original 7 remake, right, I still feel like they're just an interruption. And when I replayed Rebirth recently for hard mode, the story just flowed so well, and I didn't realize how much the whispers had just interrupted 7 remake until I played Rebirth twice.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like the whispers would have to care anyway. Well, it certainly looks very open up until the end of Gongaga. The path you take is technically very linear. Like it is for like half of that story. Still, like you go to a place because even regardless of what the story says, it's the only place you can go to, and like it's only after that point where like the only impulse is that the party wants to go there, so they fly directly there.
I will say one thing, like, I don't think this is worse than the original. Like, I don't want to say that, like, so definitively. I think, like, 99% of the scenes that are presented are of a higher quality in this version than the original. In terms of production, in terms of voice acting, in terms of script. Like, most things are done better this time. And I love the original. I don't think the original needed to be replaced. I don't think HD remakes are necessarily necessary. But, like, if you're going to do it, this is...
because the original is still there, and you can play it on anything that will eventually play all parts of 7 remake.
You can play 7 remake on a... I mean, you could say you can play the original 7 on a fridge at this point, probably. There's probably enough computer power in a fridge that you can go and get a PS1 emulator running, and it'll run well enough. You just gotta, like, open and close the door in order to press X. But, what was I saying? Oh, yeah, so, like, 99% of the things are done better, and most of the characters are better written, and the production is, in so many ways, really good. It's just, like, this ending, specifically, I am not excited for what's coming next based on what they produced, based on the questions that are here, because genuinely, I don't know what questions I'm supposed to be asking. I'm excited for what's coming next because I know Final Fantasy VII still has a half of a game full of, like, really great stuff. And I want to fight giant monsters. That's what I'm excited for.
Yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait to fight the weapons, man. I'm so excited for, like, what the super bosses are going to be like. I haven't even fought the super bosses in this one, except for one. I fought Gilgamesh, right? Which, by the way, fucking amazing. Like,
okay.
That's the best Gilgamesh. I'm not even fucking with you. Gilgamesh is one of my favorite characters in the series. That's the best Gilgamesh fight.
Sorry. Another tangent. John DiMaggio plays Heidegger in this game. They should have gotten him to also play Gilgamesh. Because he's so good as Gilgamesh in 12. And the guy they have playing Gilgamesh in this game is not as good.
No, that's true. Yeah, that's true. I love John DiMaggio. Bender is the best. Bender is great. Bender is great.
Like they seem to have decided that, like, recasting everyone who had a voice in the 7 universe only applies to characters from the 7 universe. So Gilgamesh still has his Dissidia Duodecim voice actor.
Oh. Huh.
Yeah, I think it's very strongly implied that, like, this is the same Gilgamesh as that one.
Well, yes, of
it's
course
always
it's
the same Gilgamesh.
It's almost always the same Gilgamesh.
Yeah.
Except for maybe 9, because 9 doesn't fit in any way. Unless Gilgamesh has lost a ton of weight for that game.
15's is also not the Gilgamesh. Like, they could just outright say, yes, this is the Gilgamesh, and I'd tell them they're lying.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah. So that's the only super boss I fought. I'm excited to fight the super boss in this. I can't wait to fight the super boss.
Who is the super boss in this game? Other than Gilgamesh.
I don't know.
And I'm guessing he means the VR hard mode stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
I think that's you fight two summons at the same time are the most difficult battles that I can find.
Oh, those are part of the Gilgamesh thing.
Oh, you have to do that?
I hope Gilgamesh comes back again in part 3 because
before you
was doing so well in this one.
Like, so first to unlock Gilgamesh, you have to do all the proto relic stuff and also max out the levels of every summon materia. And then when you get to Gilgamesh Island, there are 3 boss fights that you have to do first. Each one is with two of the summons at once.
Yeah, and they're really hard.
Yeah, some of those are fucking bullshit.
I'm not going to do this. I like this game, but this is not going to happen. I am.
That's fair.
I've mentally already moved on to Yakuza 8, which I haven't even started yet, but will start soon. So sorry,
That's
Rebirth.
fair. But check out the 7 Rebirth rendition of Battle on the Big Bridge because it's honestly the best. It's the best rendition since 13.2.
There was a YouTube video saying this is not Battle of the Big Bridge 7 Rebirth, and that video title was a lie. But you have to play with the lie so that Square Enix will not take it down.
Yeah, it's something that that people on YouTube started doing because for some reason they think Content ID works that way. It doesn't. Square Enix just Content IDs anything that they're uploading to uploading the audio contents of anything that they're uploading to the SEM channel, and they haven't done that with 7 Rebirth yet because they're still selling the soundtrack.
We gotta get on LimeWire. That's how we get the soundtrack out. We gotta bring back the old days of LimeWire.
Yeah, like once they decide, okay, we've gotten all the sales we want, put this on Spotify, put this on YouTube, then all of those are gonna get copyright struck.
Yep.
Shame.
I do hope that that comes back somehow in part 3 because I mean I love Gilgamesh in this one, right? But in general, like the fact that Gilgamesh is in it and is done as well as he is, right? The fact that they have so many things from other games outside of 7 that came into this and are just done so well, right? This game isn't just a love letter to Final Fantasy VII. It's a love letter to the entire Final Fantasy series, right? And so that's always been what I cared about way more than like where's this metaphysical stuff leading to? Where's the timeline? Is it really a timeline? Is it like the theory about it's not actually like a timeline? It's just that it's all in the live stream and it's all like someone's memories or whatever. I really just don't care about that stuff. So it's just I'm not gonna devote any time or thought into it. That's not what I liked about this game or remake.
It's kind of like Kingdom Hearts 4, where like I could get involved in the theory crafting of what's inside the box that Master of Masters has, but it's like I am so like beyond my ability to actually consider what is happening. It's not like a whodunit. It's so much more complicated than that I don't even have a guess. Other than I think it'll mostly be unnecessary. Also, my theory of what's inside the box is that the Master of Masters is inside the box.
They should just do it. They should just make that another anticlimax on the vein of when Luxord thought that he'd found the box in the pirates' world and like it contains a heart and like wait, this is an actual heart. What the hell?
Yeah. No. All right. Did any of you see a really weird time travel movie? What the hell was it called? Oh man, I'm gonna have to edit out this looking for thing. Time travel confusing movie. Sorry, I will get back to you in a second.
Wait, so is there actually a super boss
Primer.
in the hard mode stuff, or is it not?
Okay, all right, I'm back. So, did any of you see Primer? There's a time travel movie from like 2004. directed by Shane Carruth, who is a very, very bad person. Seems to be deeply disturbed, but that's not important. All right, so the way that movie works is that time travel happens in real time. You have to hide inside the time travel box minute by minute. So if you want to go back in time a day, you have to sit in the box for a day. So the Master of Masters has been sitting in the time travel box to go back into the beginning of reality this entire time while Zigbar carries the box. Understand?
Wow.
Yeah.
No, I understand, but also, I mean, that's really dumb.
Well, Primer's a really interesting movie, even if the director is a nightmare person. It is extremely confusing. You have to watch it like 4 times, or just follow a guide online, which is much easier. Everybody's time traveling like 6 times in that movie, and you don't even realize it yet. That's
Like,
the twist.
all I know of Primer is that one XKCD comic where
Yes.
he's drawn like the timelines of various movies, and then Primer is just this giant scribble.
Yeah, exactly. It's that. It's literally that. His next movie, Upstream Color, is maybe one of the best movies I've ever seen. But also the fact that Shane Carruth is such a nightmare person kind of makes it difficult to recommend. Like, specifically, it's a romance between him and an actress that he became very abusive towards. He plays a character in the movie, so like the romance aspect becomes completely toxic.
Yeah, that's just Hollywood for you, though.
Anyway, what game were we talking about again?
Well, I was asking, like, does 7 Rebirth, does it actually have a super boss in it other than Gilgamesh? Like, or is the hard mode?
It might, because like
Oh, okay.
I mean, I don't actually know, but I noticed that like I'm missing one enemy from like the enemy intel list, and I fought Gilgamesh. He's not in there, so is it something else, or did it just get mad because I did it on easy? Who knows?
Makes sense.
I'm looking it up now. I can't see
Gilgamesh
any.
is genuinely Gilgamesh is genuinely a brilliant fight because it's not really like a specifically hard battle. You know, it's not hard like the Final Fantasy XII Gilgamesh was. It's just fun. You know,
Sure,
so...
but I didn't want to grind to 70 just to fight Gilgamesh.
No, yeah, fair enough. Absolutely, right. It's like the stuff before Gilgamesh. There's the, you know, you have the versions of the summons, and those are hard fights. Those are difficult ones. And then it rewards you with this fight against Gilgamesh that's not particularly challenging, right? You know, but not easy either. It's just fun. You just have a massive smile on your face the whole time while you're battling him. And that's exactly how a boss battle with Gilgamesh should be, right? It's not a cakewalk, it's not easy, but it's not like ripping your hair out of it. You're just having fun because you're fighting this silly fucking guy from Final Fantasy V who just wants to get back to that world and fight bots again, right? And you're just in his way. And it's just so much fun. Like, yeah,
Techno, I looked it up. It does appear that Gilgamesh is the most super bossy boss in this. There's something called brutal challenges and like supreme challenges in the VR, but Gilgamesh might be the thing. That's it.
I guess they're just like harder versions of the bosses we've already fought, which would make sense. But yeah, like we're gonna get the super bosses in part 3. Well, I think we will. I hope we will. Like, I can't wait to fight Ruby Weapon and see what the mechanic around that is. I can't wait
considering
to fight
the big deal they made about the weapons and how the huge materia are you know, parts of the weapons, I'm expecting Alt Ruby's Ruby, Emerald, and Ultimate to actually be compulsory this time around.
Yeah, I mean, maybe so. Like, I like how they did that because, you know, when you fight them in the original, those super bosses, you do get materia as rewards for them, right? So it's like, maybe that's the thing, but I do
honestly, honestly, like on the case of Emerald, I'm expecting there to be like a giant recontextualization of like the underwater section because, you know, Junon underwater reactor is still going to be the main thing you go down there for, but there's an entire sunken old Junon down there now. Like there's a whole there's a whole fucking pile of ruins to explore.
Oh yeah. No, yeah, I will say like one thing that was a little disappointing about 7 Rebirth, right? One part I was a bit disappointed with was when you fight Midgard's Golem, right? And it's just a normal boss battle this time. It's just, it's just a fight. It's just an enemy you have to beat, right? That just defeats what Midgard's Golem was in the original for me. Like in the original, it's something that you can't fight. You could if you like spent a stupid amount of time level grinding. It's something that you can't fight, And then the fact that Sephiroth was able to like defeat it so easily is like, holy shit, how powerful is this Sephiroth guy, right? Whereas this time, you just fight it, and then Sephiroth kills it after, and it's just not impressive this time when Sephiroth kills it. It's like, oh wow, that thing, the thing that I just defeated. Like I don't know. It's not an easy fight. Don't get me wrong.
I thought it was.
It's the fact that like, what's that?
I beat it at first try. I thought it was an easy fight.
Oh yeah. In hard mode, it's a lot more difficult.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I can't comment on hard mode, but this game is easier than Remake.
Yes, yeah, definitely. It's an easier game than Remake, which I think was probably a good decision personally. Like, you go back through.
Remake was not that hard.
Other than Hell House.
Other than Rufus, if you don't know how to use Cloud's abilities, which I didn't. Actually, Rufus was hard this time too because I still forgot how to use his abilities. Like, I don't parry in this game. I just never do. I just use the dodge roll.
Same. Yeah, but that's because I only play Tifa and Yuffie, right?
Well, yeah,
that is also just somewhat more of a problem in the game because, if you're Cloud, so you're encouraged to dodge a lot more because that's how you start his aerial attacks.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
He gets laser beams, so
I do feel like, by the way, I know we're like way off the ending subject at this point, but I do feel like for part 3, I want them to have more sections where they force me to use certain party members, right? I know that's a weird request, but I would never have bothered to figure out Cait Sith's gameplay if it weren't for that section where I'm forced to play Cait Sith.
I still
and he's actually
didn't.
kind of fun. Oh yeah, but he's actually kind of fun. I'm like, oh, this guy has a really interesting kit. If it weren't for the fact I have 4 party members I would rather play, I probably would play more Cait Sith because he's actually a lot of fun.
Well, why would I use this guy when he's way slower than the other party members and doesn't seem to be particularly more offensively proficient, doesn't have better range abilities, doesn't have better speed or even magic for that matter? I don't really know what Cait Sith brings to the party at all.
A lot. Like, it's hard to go into it. He has a really interesting kit. He's actually, it's funny. He's one of the more like versatile party members, right? Alongside Cloud and Yuffie. I don't know. Cait Sith is a fascinating character, like gameplay wise. He's fascinating. I can't wait to like start writing about his kit.
Also, like ice climbers-ish kind of characters where you like split up and one fights and you do the other thing. I don't have the energy to figure that out. There's a million things going on in the combat already.
Yeah, that's why Cait Sith is interesting. The whole like, the way he survives is different from the others. Like the others, if you're Tifa or Yuffie, you're gonna dodge them. If you're Cloud or Barret or Red 13, you're gonna guard super hard because they have really good defensive stats, right? And I forgot. I don't know what you do with Aerith. I guess you just warp around the place because she doesn't have either. Right. Whereas
she
with
blasts enemies with big magic attacks. That's what she does.
Yeah, no, Aerith is basically just a glass cannon. Right. Whereas Cait Sith, he has you use the Moogle to distract them, while Cait Sith himself is a slippery motherfucker. Cait Swift. He's a slippery motherfucker, right? But the Moogle's covering for him. I don't know. I think he has a really fascinating kit. Yeah, I can't wait to see what they come up with for Vincent and Sid, because we haven't even, with Red 13 at least in Remake, you get like hints of what his kit is like because he fights as a guest. That doesn't happen with Sid or Vincent. Cat, we're spoiling you so much, man. Like we're giving you so many spoilers at this point. You're probably getting sick.
I think
of
that's what I signed
Yeah.
up for.
You did,
Also,
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
This game won't come out to Steam for another, like, 2 years, so, you know, you have plenty of time.
It'll probably be next
I
year.
won't even remember any of this.
just drink your, what were you drinking again, a soju?
Yeah.
Just drink enough soju and this entire conversation will disappear. Oh, okay.
See, here's the thing. This game has somewhat given me a twisted interest in seeing where it's going, because I managed to come up with a theory that I disliked so much I want to be proven wrong about it.
Ooh, let's go.
Okay, so just for background information, you know that meme where like there's a couple kids running in the background labeled internet posters trying to be funny, and there's this other kid about to throw a dodgeball labeled the gift of prophecy at them. Because so that's how I felt like when I was pulling when I was trying to figure out what the hell these alternate dimensions were. Because Catuse and Blue might remember 5 years ago on Yoon's Lit-Crit server, I said as a half joke, Homestuck is the most important literary work of the 2010s.
I believe you.
I didn't know that was
as-
a joke. I thought that was just a factual statement.
It
You
was
should-
a half joke.
You should
It was
listen
a
to a
half joke.
you should listen to a
And as I
podcast
was-
called Homestuck Made This World by Range Touch.
And as I was trying to figure out what the hell these alternate worlds are, and like how they were actually used in service to the ending, like, you know, one of them was used to somehow get a white materia into this reality. If Zack hadn't been attacked in that one timeline where he decides fuck all this and heads back to the church, and then Sephiroth shows up, he wouldn't have shown up during the final boss fight, and everyone would have died. And I was thinking, wait, hold on, are these like fucking doomed timelines from Homestuck? And to explain to Technobliterator, let me tell you about Homestuck.
Oh my god, we don't have
in-
like 2 hours to explain Homestuck right now.
In Homestuck, fate is 100% predetermined, but it can also be predetermined that you're destined to try and defy fate. And if you do that, it creates an alternate timeline where everyone dies, but also it creates something that someone with the power to travel through time or space or whatever has to get from that timeline to ensure that the actual real timeline continues to properly function. And like that might sound
okay.
confusing as hell, but it's Homestuck, so yes, it is confusing as fuck.
Yep.
But that is the conclusion I kind of drew from analyzing what the hell actually happened with the alternate worlds that have actually interacted with the main story, the Beagle world.
Okay, so I'm trying
Yeah,
And
to
I
the
want that
whole,
to not be the case because that is fucking cursed as hell.
All right. I'm
Yeah,
trying
the
to I'm
whole,
trying to make this comparison work in my head. So, Aerith would be the bunny from Con Air. Sephiroth has to be Jack Noir, of course, because Jack Noir is 100% Sephiroth. Like, there's no way he's not Jack Noir. So then,
Absolutely.
who is Lord English? Is Cloud Lord English?
Maybe Genova's Lord English.
Maybe I'm Lord English. Maybe that's what's happening here. We're actually all the little troll kid, and we're going to turn into Lord English in the next podcast. This, by the way, is a twist in the podcast Homestuck Made This World. You should listen to that podcast. It's better than this one.
Yeah. I mean, next episode we have to talk about you know, the extended epilogue of Final Fantasy 16. So, you know, someone might feel like they're turning into Lord English.
It's gonna be you. You're the one that has to play it.
Yes, I'll play it.
Okay. I think. All right. Does anyone else have any wacky theories for what the next game's going to be?
No, I'm sticking to my whole like live stream thing. I think that's the most plausible, and frankly, the one I'd be most happy with. I'm just like, Yeah, again, like I said earlier, I just don't care. It's not the part about the 7 remake trilogy that excites me.
I'm kind of in that place with you too. Like, all right, so none of you watched Evangelion 4.0, like 1.0 plus 4.0, yeah, whatever subtitle. So like, in that movie, there's a long sequence where they add like 45 minutes worth of lore that makes no sense. There's a second Lance Longinus. Like, it doesn't work as a biblical metaphor. It doesn't work as Evangelion, any sort of things. There's a final boss fight in that movie that collapses. And because Hideki Anno is doing really interesting stuff, it like extends beyond that and like makes it clear that this final fight that you think is going to happen that'll settle everything, it is insufficient to the problems that have been brought up. And then takes Evangelion to interesting and new places that more or less kind of ends with a conclusion of please go outside and touch grass. Which I did.
Right, it goes meta. Like,
yeah. At the end of that movie, after I watched it, I went outside and I took a walk. That's what Hideki Anno did to me.
Like, of all the things that they could do, like, I know some people read the ending of Remake as, like, the idea of, but we don't really want to remake this game. I do think just from Rebirth that wasn't really the intended reading. Like, yeah, they might not want to do a straight remake, but they still clearly, have reverence for the original and want to try and recapture that, even if they don't hit every point of it.
Yeah, I still have like one more thing. It's like what I'm trying to get at is the lore is not what interests me in any of this. The actual details, the proper nouns, the wiki pages we can write about it, all those details it's not interesting to me. It is ultimately, what are those details telling me? What is the emotional impact? What am I supposed to learn from this? What do the creators think about their own creation? And why have they done this? And when it comes to... Yes,
like, I love that stuff. I feel like that makes the world more complete. Right. I love a lot of the stuff you learn about the lore of the 7 world from this. Anyway, carry on.
No, I don't mean like... I like that there's a Junon Republic. I like that detail. But like, well, what I mean is like, all these things, these are just pieces towards a final emotional affect. They do not exist. They're not real. There is no Cloud. There is no Midgar. There's none of those things. They are not self-sufficient realities that have eternal detail that need to be internally consistent. I don't care. They are just tools. They are pieces. They are constructs. It's unimportant to me, ultimately. It's like, ultimately, what is the output that I'm supposed to take away from this? And with 7 Rebirth, the ending, I was left saying what? Because I don't know what the final emotional output was supposed to be. And maybe the third game will fix that problem and it'll come away with some grand conclusion. But I feel like I look at 7, and that's a game with quite a few very successful emotional outputs that continues many themes that are in the series. Egoism, fighting against isolation, those sorts of things. Cloud's emotional journey is very successful in that game, and they continue those themes in 8 with Squall. Arguably more successful, arguably less successful, depends on your point of view. In this game, I don't know what to do with Cloud anymore. He's lost. He's not my point of view anymore because he's out in his own universe. I'm not even in that universe anymore.
But it must be said with all that. I don't know how you feel about this. This might be super controversial.
Mm-hmm.
I did not enjoy the ending of Final Fantasy VII Original. I thought the ending of Final Fantasy VII Original was super anticlimactic. I thought it was super, it was just nothing. That ending reminds me more of Mass Effect 3's ending.
And it was definitely considered confusing back in its day because, it's like, did anyone other than Nanaki survive this? Was an open question. From what I understand, that the writers hadn't intended to leave open until they were able to put out extra content that just definitively says, no, everyone survived this, it's fine.
For me, it's just like open endings like that. I don't have a problem with them in media or in storytelling in general. I just don't think it fits an RPG. I just think it doesn't work for an RPG story, right? You know, if that was the ending of like I'll come back to The Last of Us. That has an open ending, right? Until part 2 came out.
And
But The Last
part
of Us
2 ruins it, yeah.
Yeah. But then like, that has a really open ending. And I love that. And I think it really fits that game because you've gone on an emotional journey throughout that point. And then what happens to Joel and Ellie after that, up to your interpretation. I think that's beautiful for a game like that where, you're kind of like experiencing it with them, but you're not like actively changing the story, right? Whereas for an RPG, the whole point is, you're specifically participating in this, you're changing the world around you, you're having an impact on what's going on, especially with 7, where you have so much player choice throughout, and they kept that with 7 Rebirth. Very happy with it, by the way. Right? There's so much player choice, and it's so much your story and your impact on the world you're shaping, right? So for them to just have a like, well, I mean, maybe everyone died, maybe they didn't, who knows? Like, for them to just leave everything up to interpretation, I think that's just an awful way to end an RPG. I just don't think it fits for an RPG, right? It was horrible when Mass Effect 3 did it, because it basically said, oh, all the choices you've made up until now do not matter, because who knows what happened to them? Maybe they survived, maybe they didn't. Who knows? Like, it's just like, well, why did I spend all this time trying to put a peace treaty between these people or save this entire alien race if it doesn't matter in the end, right? Like Final Fantasy VII, I never enjoyed the ending of that. And I get that some people did like it and some people prefer it. I don't mind that. So that's just, maybe this is just a controversial take from me. But look, like, for me, if Final Fantasy VII Remake and now Rebirth both have like great stories throughout and end terribly, that's not much different from how the original was. That's almost like exactly the same as how the original was, to be honest.
I think the ending of 7 is confusing and unsuccessful in some ways, but also largely irrelevant because Cloud's character arc has been completed. And we defeated Sephiroth, and that's really what's important. And ultimately, Advent Children was written in a lot of ways, like it starts on that incomplete ending and wraps it up to go in, all right, this is what we intended. And they get some things right, they get a lot of things wrong in that movie, but you don't really have to worry about those particular details. I don't even know what I was thinking anymore. I'm kind of running out of steam now. My train of thought collapsed.
Yeah. Well, quality arguments aside, I expect Part 3 to have a more comprehensive ending because, like the original's ending is something that if they just redid that shot for shot, that's you're doing nothing but asking a question that's already answered, and one they already expect the audience to know, considering that they put Advent Children back into theaters just before Rebirth came out. So I think I assume that Part 3 has some sort of epilogue that at least just elaborates that yes, everything is fine now. And no matter what, I definitely don't want them to do some kind of go outside type ending like Evangelion, because if I could draw a parallel with the ending of Part 3 and the ending of Danganronpa V3, that'd be even more cursed than my Homestuck theory.
Oh, Danganronpa V3 sucks so bad. That game is like...
I liked that ending, but I don't want anything else to do that.
Now, that game's ending is like, please stop playing this series. We don't want to make it anymore. And then they never made another one. So that was kind of that point. I guess they succeeded. It's like, we're sick of making this shit. Please don't make us make 50 of these. Fuck you for playing this game.
Look, that's the only part of the series I actually liked after the first game. Like most of Danganronpa is so fucking horrible.
It's better than the anime, I guess.
Unrelated media advice from SomeColorMage: never fucking play Ultra Despair Girls. That is fucking terrible. That is.
Ooh. Oh, you know what?
That is fucking shit.
You know, weirdly enough, the Danganronpa prequel anime is okay. The sequel anime is a disaster.
Yeah, like, yeah, the prequel episodes of the Danganronpa 3 anime that aren't about Junko and her evil plan are actually pretty good. Yeah.
Spoilers. Anime Joker.
Yeah.
Junko.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We should wrap up, I think, is what.
Like, see, I like those. Yeah. We shouldn't. Like, let's not turn this into Danganronpa chat. Yeah, God fucking.
Yeah, I think we're basically, we've kind of summed up our thoughts on the ending. Is we love this game. We think that ending was kind of stupid.
And there'll be another game in, as it turns out, 3 years. They've specifically said that they're going to release the next one in 2027. So
yeah, it's funny, right? Because
that's a little ambitious.
They're absolutely aiming for the 30th anniversary.
Yeah, I feel like I don't know if it's gonna come out then, but if that did happen, that would be kind of cool. That the length of time we're waiting for each game is decreasing each time. Final Fantasy VII Remake announced 2015 comes out 5 years later. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth comes out 4 years after 7 Remake. Final Fantasy VII Revengeance comes out 3 years after Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
Well, they've actually said that. Well, since for that first year after Remake, we were pretty much all hands-on integrated. Yeah, it's only really took us 3 years to do Rebirth, so this should also take us 3 years. And
oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
They very efficiently managed a lot of their assets, and they only have to create 3 more locations. So,
Yeah, there's only a couple more regions they have to add. They have to add the Highwind, which, and apparently the plot's already done. So,
yeah,
they were developing Rebirth and Part 3 in tandem. So yeah, it makes sense that a lot of the easiest stuff's already out of the way.
Yeah. So
So I've always said that I feel like whenever there's a trilogy, the second entry is almost always the best one. It's almost always the most critically acclaimed one. But the more I think about how much stuff is going to be in the third part, I actually think I might be wrong. I think the third part might be even better. Fingers crossed.
Yeah. So really, what the third part needs to focus on is less whispers and metafiction and time travel, and more will Cloud and Sephiroth kiss, because that's what's really important to everybody. And of course, shipping. Go back to Homestuck. That's what everyone really cares about. Clefka? What the hell are those ship names? Klefki? I'm
sure that one's a Pokemon.
That is a Pokemon. Cloud times Tifa versus Cloud times Aerith. That's what it's really all about. That's what it really matters. And we're going to wrap up there. We'll be back in a couple weeks to talk about Final Fantasy 16 and news and other stuff. So I've been your host, BlueHighwind. This was a bonus-ode. Podcast music is La Montaña de los Jovenes Caballeros by XPRTNovice off the OC Ruin Balance and Ruins thing. That whole thing I say at the end of every episode. See you all then. Thank you for listening to all this nonsense. And I'm going to go sleep. Goodbye.
Yeah!